Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So, I recently went out to go see the new Christopher Nolan film, The Odyssey. It's one of the most highly anticipated film of the year, and it was one of my most anticipated films of the year. And I was very hyped for this movie. It was one of the most hyped films at that time. The IMAX 70mm screenings were sold out a year in advance before this film came out, and because everybody was going to go out to see it because it's Christopher Nolan. I mean, he's best known doing the Dark Knight trilogy. He did Inception. He did Interstellar. He did Dunkirk, Oppenheimer, which won so many Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. And I loved his past movies that are very underrated movies like Memento, The Prestige, and Insomnia. I thought that those were one of the most underrated films that not a lot of people talk about, but they do talk about Memento a little bit more. And then it's already the 20th anniversary of Christopher Nolan's The Prestige, which I'm really excited that they're probably going to bring it back in the theaters if I'm not mistaken. And I thought it was a great film that I wish more people talk about, but I thought it was a fantastic film. There are some of the few movies that I did not like that I became a miss. I did not like The Dark Knight Rises. I did not like Dunkirk as much as many people did. I know a lot of people love Dunkirk. There's a lot to love, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't think the movie was well executed with the story and the characters. But that's just me. Tenet, I will say that most people can agree that was his weakest film he made at that time when that movie came out during the pandemic. And it felt like, oh God, this is one of the movies that was just not a good day for him at the office. But then he came back and did Oppenheimer, in which I mentioned before that he won so many Academy Awards off of it, and I thought the film was fantastic. So yeah, the hype was there for the Odyssey. You're following Matt Damon, who plays Odysseus. He embarks on a dangerous journey to the voyage back to Ithaca with his men after the fall of the Trojan War. And he encounters the treacherous creatures like Cyclops and the Sirens, and even the witch of Circe. So, yeah, I was very excited going into this movie. This movie is going to be the first time he's ever shot this movie on a 70mm IMAX film camera. I mean, he has used it a few times for certain sequences, but this is the first time he's shot the whole movie on the IMAX 70mm. And the cast went on behind the scenes and talking about when they shot that on IMAX 70mm, because when they're shooting it with that camera, the film thing in the machine goes very loud when they're filming it. And the only way to get rid of the sound is that they had to use the soundproof called the blimp, because they had to shoot scenes with dialogue, and they think that the noise is going to be very loud and distracting when they're trying to like exchange dialogue and with and with the characters as well. And I thought that what they did was very ballsy, especially when you have to carry the blimp and you have to have 4 people on the crew carrying that camera around while you're shooting it when there's dialogue. And Christopher Nolan has gone beyond by shooting a lot of great locations like Scotland, Iceland, Greece, Italy. He wanted to make everything in that location to be more real and authentic and give them the actors the more challenge. They basically had to hike up the hill every time they had to shoot some scenes in the movie, because all the way down to the base camp is all the way 40 feet down that hill that they had to hike up, especially when they had to go through like a lunch break or something, because most of the time when they shoot big locations, most of the time it's shot on soundstage, but Christopher Nolan wants to break that barrier and actually shoot it in real locations and make the scenery every more real and authentic. And he was very sophisticated in telling that story. And the way that Nolan shot in a real location was so beautiful to look at. I had to see this movie in Dolby Cinema because I didn't have an IMAX 70mm in any theater where I live, unfortunately. So my two choices were to watch it on a standard IMAX screen or watch it in Dolby Cinema. I prefer to watch this in Dolby Cinema because the screen is a little bit more taller and wider than the standard IMAX of this theater, because that's the only option I got. But I still had a great experience, especially in Dolby Atmos surround sounds, which it really totally immersed me into this story, especially the sequences when you're on a ship with Odysseus and his crew at nighttime when they were in the middle of a crazy storm, when one of the gods like Zeus and Poseidon try to prevent them from going home. And it was shot at a nighttime, and this sequences was definitely shot on a soundstage because they couldn't do it literally at nighttime out in the open in the middle of the ocean, and they had to create a storm and strobe lights in the background. And what he did with the lighting sequences, because what Nolan did was try to make it more realistic as possible when you're at a night scene and you're in the middle of out in the open in the ocean in the middle of a storm. There's no lighting at all, and you can't see a damn thing. The only best thing you can be able to see is through a lantern. You would have to have a lantern around the ship at that time, and the only time you could see it clearly is that if there's a full moon. And I appreciate that because he knows how to pull you right in, especially the sound design. The sound mixing was so immersive. I felt like I was there with them, and we were at nighttime with them in the middle of a storm. And that sequence was brilliant. Especially there's another sequences when they're in a cave when they're going up against the Cyclops and try to make it out of there alive. Yeah, the way that they shot it in a dark cave and how it looks so damn good, it looks so much more realistic and authentic because they were inside a cave, and how Nolan was able to use a Cyclops without having to use the CGI, which at the time, I thought that the Cyclops was gonna be CGI, but apparently it was not. And it looked so damn realistic, and it was so, like, terrifying because it was definitely more of a horror movie. And there's some sequences that were a little bit graphic, and there's a reason why that Nolan did this as an R-rated movie. And, I'm pretty sure that he definitely tweaked some of the CGI with the Cyclops just a little bit, just to make it look good, but I don't know, I could be wrong about that, but I thought it was really good, and even the sequences in the middle of the woods when Odysseus' men are going up against a giant, which I thought that scene was awesome. When you see a lot of these giants are like, slaughtering every men left and right was such a great sequences, it was so, like, so intense, and I love the characters. I thought the acting and the performances was definitely top tier, especially Matt Damon, who was playing Odysseus. I thought he really did a damn good job of keeping us invested in the story, especially a man who was trying to get home, and he still feels a lot of the guilt that he has done when he served with the Greek soldiers, especially King Agamemnon, who led to the Trojan War and try to lead them to victory because he was the most intelligent of the whole army because he was able to trick a lot of people, even though he's very skilled in combat and he's very good as an archer. But his greatest power is his mind. And that was one of his greatest gifts that led to victory during the Trojan War. And there's a lot of things that he done that was so unforgiven and that he's living with that guilt. And you see how the timeline was structured with Nolan when he's taking different time periods and showing each character's different angle of how they viewed Odysseus, especially Odysseus himself when he's on an island with Calypso, played by Charlize Theron, who lost 7 years of his life that has forgotten who he was because he ate the lotus, which you know the story in the Homer's Odyssey story. He lost 7 years of his life and away from his family and with his wife and his son. And you got Robert Pattinson, who's playing a character who's trying to take over the throne of Ithaca and trying to take Odysseus' wife and try to claim it himself. And you have Tom Holland who's playing Telemachus, who is playing the son of Odysseus. He's been trying to find his father of where he is, where he might have been, and because he's taken too long to try to get home. And even himself is trying to take the throne to make sure that Robert Pattinson's character, it makes sure he doesn't. But it goes against Zeus's law if you know the story of it in the movie itself. I thought Tom Holland had a lot of gravitas. This is definitely a great year for Tom Holland, especially now in 2 weeks. We're going to see him in Spider-Man. He's got very lucky now that this is the first time he's working with Nolan. He's got a lot of chance. Do I think he will get an Oscar nomination? I don't think he will, but he's stepping in the right direction now that he's making the right choices to be in other roles. Because lately, his other roles that were outside of the MCU, he hasn't had a lot of good roles lately. So it's so good that now he was able to work with a famous director like Nolan himself, and he did a great job. I loved this character. I was so invested. He had basically like 50% of more screen time. It almost became more of his movie, and when you focus on Telemachus, but 90% of the time you're still focusing on Odysseus and him trying to take the journey home. The way that he was able to transport us on that journey was so immersive, and I felt like I didn't want it to end because even though that this movie is very long, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and how you're going through the journey before you get to the destination. The third act finale, holy shit, that was so intense. I don't wanna give away too much. I mean, I don't know how much of you guys have read the story of the Odyssey, but I thought that how they delivered the finale, it was so intense. I love the choreography, and some people are complaining about the shaky cams, and I myself, when I watched that film, I didn't really see it as a shaky cam at all. I thought it was just way more of done as a handheld style. I still managed to see what's going on when we're seeing Odysseus fighting people in combat, and they delivered the choreography, I will say, because in the past, Nolan didn't really always deliver the fight choreography for the Dark Knight trilogy, but he's learned. And I thought that the sequences was very good, great cinematography, great visuals. The music score was incredible, and Nolan has learned a lesson with the sound mixing because some of his past movies, like Tenet, when he does the sound mixing and the music score and everything around him, you barely hear the dialogue. Well, he was able to listen. We were able, even though the music and the sound effects are loud, but you could still hear the dialogue and hear what the actors are saying on screen. I thought it was a very well structured. Robert Pattinson is so good in this movie that he plays a piece of shit that you hate so much that you want him dead, and Robert Pattinson freaking nailed it. He really did. And Lupita Nyong'o is playing Helen of Troy, and she's technically playing two different characters, and basically she's playing the twin sister, and she's playing Helen, and she doesn't have as much screen time, but I thought she did a great job for what she when she shows up. Because we have to forget, because this is not her story. This is the post Trojan War story with Odysseus. The main characters mostly are more focused is Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Anne Hathaway, and Matt Damon. They are the main characters of the movie. The supporting characters like John Bernthal, Charlize Theron, and Lupita Nyong'o, Elliot Page, and all the other cast members, they were more of a serviceable to the main story. And a lot of people on this online troll in the discourse, a lot of people just make this as a more of a controversial that they race swapped Helen of Troy, which I was not bothered by it because we have to forget that this is a Greek mythology. This is not a historical documentary. And a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's not historically accurate." Yeah, neither was the movie Troy. The movie Troy was not historically accurate. None of the characters are speaking in British accents. Most of them are not white. So it shouldn't be a problem. But they wanted to make it a problem for some stupid reason. And I myself really love the movie Troy. I think that you should watch the director's cut, in which that we're going to get a 4K remaster coming out in about a month, which I'm really excited. And fun fact, in case you didn't know, that Nolan was supposed to direct the movie Troy, but Wolfgang Peterson took over to direct it because Warner Brothers did not want him to direct for some reason. But they were able to give him another project like Batman Begins. But that definitely worked out a lot for Nolan himself. I don't know how different would it be if he actually direct Troy and where his career could have been. We will never know. But I still appreciate these two different versions because Troy is basically not connected to what Nolan did with the Odyssey. It's basically its own thing. It's a reinterpretation of the Odyssey storyline, but still staying true to what the story was in the book. I still love the Odyssey. It's definitely a masterpiece. I don't know. I might feel differently when I watch it again, but I'm definitely gonna go see this movie again on the big screen. You have to watch it on the biggest screen as possible. If you have an IMAX 70 millimeter at your theater, you should definitely see it. And I wish I had a chance to see it in IMAX 70 millimeter, but I'm never gonna get the chance because I don't have it here. My only best bet is to watch it on a standard IMAX screen or Dolby Cinema, and I chose Dolby Cinema. It was good. I loved it in a Dolby Cinema. I was still immersed into that story. I loved the film a lot more than I thought it would. And yeah, this is definitely going to get a lot of Oscar nomination. It's going to get a run for its money, and it's going to have one of the biggest opening weekends we've had this year. And yes, I know because they're going to have a 2-week run for the box office for the Odyssey until Spider-Man Brand New Day takes over. But this is a great year for Tom Holland, great year for the entire cast. Yeah, and I thought Anne Hathaway was definitely phenomenal in the movie when she shows up on screen. I loved her character. I thought her performance is just outstanding as usual. She's worked with Nolan before on Interstellar and The Dark Knight Rises, and I thought she really nailed the role. I thought she was amazing. She had a great year, especially when she was coming off of The Devil Wears Prada 2, and she's got another movie coming out the end of Oak Street. She's amazing. Everybody in this movie was definitely top tier performances. The casting controversial with Elliot Page becoming a Greek warrior, which a lot of people were assuming that he was playing Achilles, which it was never confirmed, but the online trolls decided to run with it and kind of made it an assumption and became completely ignorant, which they never confirmed it. It's been confirmed that he is playing Sinon, which is Odysseus' cousin in the movie, and he only has limited screen time. And there's a scene when Odysseus' men were in the underworld talking to the ghosts of the warriors of the dead in the underworld and trying to get information on where the location that they have to go next. And I love that sequences. That was another scene that was a bit of a horror film, and I thought Elliot Page's performance was definitely incredible. Overall, this is definitely my top 3 favorite movies of the year so far, and I put this at my number 2 spot. I still put Project Hail Mary as my number 1 favorite, but The Odyssey is definitely in the number 2 spot. It's definitely going to get an Oscar contender. Of course it will, especially Best Picture and Best Director. And Matt Damon was definitely amazing in the film. It felt like a little bit of a Jason Bourne vibe when you watch that film, if you really think about it. And I know a lot of people on social media are going to poke fun of it, but I thought the entire cast was incredible. I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10. This is a movie I'm going to watch again, and it's a movie that you got to rush out to see it on the biggest screen as possible when you get a chance. You're going to love it. I think that it's definitely one of the best swords and sandal fantasy epic film that I haven't seen in a very long time. And the score really knows how to put you on edge. It's a beautiful score. I love the film. I can't wait to see this movie again. But anyway, what did you think of the Odyssey? Did you love it or did you not love it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this review, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you know when my videos are up. In case you don't know, if you're new to the channel, I have a second YouTube channel called Small Zero. It's a collaborative YouTube channel that I co-host alongside with Ryan Cam and 3D Jake. We cover everything that goes around in the world of movies, TV shows, trailers, and so on and so forth. And we got a lot of stuff to cover, especially next week. We're going to be covering Comic-Con. I can't wait to what we're going to see for Comic-Con. It's going to be crazy for that week. And definitely check it out when you get a chance. Keep an eye open. Make sure you go over that channel and hit that subscribe button and go and give us the support. We would really appreciate it. But if you want to follow my social media platforms, I'm very active on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Click the link tree in the description down below as well. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from, and stay tuned for more of my content.